tend to make sculptural installations, and they are to an extent a response to the place that they will inhabit, so that to differing degrees the context will inform the form of the work and the materials that I choose to use. You know, for me it's quite interesting to show works alongside other artists' works, because usually I'm making solo projects. So it's interesting to see these kind of threads that emerge when you place your work alongside the works of other artists. It's a slightly different situation because the work partly existed already and is not an installation. So I've made a kind of sculptural intervention to go alongside the existing works. We thought it would be interesting to make a new version of a piece that was made on the windows of Stephen Friedman Gallery. The main difference here is that the background is a sort of picturesque landscape. The landscape enhances the quality of this space. In London, there was something about interrupting the usual scenario of the gallery being almost like a kind of shop window, and from outside you were a voyeur, but actually you were reflected in the window rather than being able to kind of completely see through it. So there's a different effect here just because of the difference in context. I suppose I'm always sort of playing around with formal kind of contrasts with some of the other works. Here the preciseness, say, of the machined aluminium objects is offset against the crumpled aluminium foil. I think it's important for me to understand the scope and limitations of materials, and you can only do that to an extent. So ideally I'm always trying to learn new techniques with each project, and that's one of the things I kind of look forward to. Quick Slow is a collaboration with Dovecot weavers in Edinburgh. The idea was really to break with the conventions of showing tapestry as something that you hang on the wall, and try to make something sculptural which would accentuate the physical quality of the tapestry. The small kind of machined brass objects are kind of abstracted forms that relate to some of the objects used in the weaving process. I think that craft's been very marginalised in the UK, and I think it has led to this kind of confusion between being seen as something sort of kitsch or sort of hobbyist, and the sort of artisan approach to making that's kind of highly skillful. And I think what's happening in recent decades really is this move away from an understanding, or a kind of common understanding of how things come to be, and the processes that go into manufacturing objects. I don't use found objects, but nevertheless all the different elements, they allude to objects, functional objects that we are familiar with in our everyday lives. So what you end up with are these odd or hybrid objects which suggest use and function or different scenarios. The nice thing about the works being part of a collection is that usually my work isn't necessarily seen more than once, because I tend to make installations. So being able to isolate some works from installations that could kind of stand alone or could be shown in groups has enabled them to be able to be re-shown in other contexts. The work on display here, it's helping me to resolve the relationship between sculptural works that have been part of installations that maybe could have their own autonomy, and their relationship to the printed works on the wall, and then their relationship to other people's work. So for me it's an opportunity to learn from that, really.